What we have in the box is 50 feet of 3/8 inch ID air hose. Most of the ones you see online, even that one company that uses this exact same hose, they actually use the 1/4 inch hose, which is smaller. So I wanted to go with a 3/8 inch system for the extra volume of air that's going to reduce the time needed to inflate the tires, etc. So I've got some hose clamps. I've got some lock-on valve stem inflators. So these actually lock onto your valve stem. It goes in there, push that up, locks it on. You can walk away from it. You don't have to hold it on your tire. So we've got 4 of those. I've got some 3/8 inch to 1/4 inch NPT barbs. I've also got some 3/8 inch fittings, 2 triangles, 2 T's, sorry, two 3-ways, 2 T's, and 2 couplers. These will fit inside the hose. So when you're ordering barb fittings, the 3/8 inch barb fitting has an OD of 3/8 of an inch. When you're looking at air hose, and it's 3/8 inch air hose, it's going to have an inner diameter of 3/8 of an inch. So that's how you know your barb fittings are going to fit in there. I've also got a pack of several 3/8 inch to 1/4 inch ball valves, a couple of T's, and a couple of unions. And then we have, of course, our actual air fittings. We're going to assemble all of this into a system that will inflate or deflate all 4 tires at the same time, and we get the added benefit of equalizing the tire pressure in all 4 tires. Yeah, let's get started. First things first. We've got our supplies. You're going to need some Teflon tape, tape measure, something to mark with, and I'm actually going to probably use these pipe cutters or these snips. Actually, that'll fit. So scissors will work too. Just make sure they're sharp. First thing we want to do is go to the Jeep, go to wherever you have your compressor mounted, and you're going to make a lead. So whatever's comfortable for you. I would say 3 feet is probably a good start. Just to give you an idea, my compressor is mounted here in the back. I'm going to come off the compressor and I want everything sitting right here. That's exactly where I want to be. So I'm going to take a measurement. This stuff does not have to be exact, guys, so don't freak out if it's not exactly 3 feet, or if it's a little more or a little less, or whatever works. It's a rough estimate. That's all we need. So we're going to take our pipe cutters, give that a nice snip. Easy peasy. One thing we also want to do is go ahead and put a quick disconnect on right here. Teflon tape. Now, for those of you who don't know, the trick with Teflon tape is, this is my rule of thumb, I'm sure there's a better way to explain it, but when you tear your tape, You want the part that you tore off, you want the wrap to be going the same direction that you're going to tighten the threads. If you do this backwards and you tighten this up, it will just strip the Teflon tape off the threads and not seal anything. So make sure that you wrap the tape in the same direction that your fitting's going to go on. We've got our fitting on the end here. We've got our 3-foot length coming off the compressor. Now is when we need to put our ball valve and our gauges together. So first things first, I'm going to take one of our T's and the gauge. We need to put some tape on here. Remember guys, follow the same pattern that you're going to use to tighten up the fitting. That's the way the tape should be rolling. Maybe 2 or 3 wraps should do. You don't have to put a ton of the stuff on here. Alright. So we've got our T, our gauge. Next up is a ball valve. This is what's going to kill the airflow going into the system, right? Compressor goes into here. This is going to go out into our system we're building. So next up is our barb, 3/8 inch barb to 1/4 inch NPT, National Pipe Thread. It goes in there. Hose clamp comes up. Tighten that down. There we go. With that Teflon tape. Almost did that backwards, y'all. Alright, nice and snug. So now we've got the part that comes from the compressor into a ball valve that shuts off the airflow. Our pressure gauge is behind the ball valve because we want to know what's hit the tires, not what's coming out of the compressor when we shut it off. And then we need to make a jumper from here to our split. So we're back. For y'all, it's an instant. For me, it was a full day's worth of work because I ran out of light last night. But now we need to work on this section here. And what this is going to do is either immediately split or come down into a T. I haven't decided yet. I'm going to go take some measurements in the back of the Jeep and see what all I have to work with. I think we can actually make that work. But in the meantime, the 3 feet line is going to bring it down to about right here, so the core, the heart of it's going to rest right about where my hand is. I need it to split right here. One line's going to go to this tire. The other end of that same line is going to go to that tire. The other line is going to be a little bit longer, but the distance between the tires is going to be the same. We need to take those measurements. And then we need to start cutting some hose. So what I'm measuring is the absolute furthest point that the 2 valve stems on the tire right here could be from each other, which is this outside edge to this outside edge. 12 feet it is. For this next section, we're going to come out of our T into a nipple, into another T, Then we're going to use our 3/8 inch barb 2/4 inch MTP fittings coming off of that, and that's going to split the air. That's going to be our first of several splits. First thing we want to do is make sure we get Teflon tape on everything that we need it to be on. And I know I've said this a bunch already, but the 3 big issues with Teflon tape is using too much, using too little, and not wrapping it the right direction. So if you wrap it the wrong direction, it may seal, it may not seal, but it will fail prematurely. So I usually do 2 to 3 wraps. Make sure you wrap it the same direction that you're going to be tightening your fastener or the other end of this on. All right. 2 wraps, 3 wraps. So, we take our nipple, put it in here. Remember, don't over tighten this stuff. It's brass, it will split, it will deform. Brass colored aluminum in some cases, but copper. Just a little snug. Nothing crazy. I'm not wrenching down hard. Take our other T. All right. Pretty even. Nipple, T, barbs. Now we're going to take our hose and we're going to measure 2 12-foot sections. It's roughly 12 feet. We've got our 2 middle sections. We're going to save that for later, and now we need to measure from where we want this thing sitting to the first section. So we're going to measure our first section from the bumper around to the tire. Should be pretty straightforward. I don't expect it to be that complicated. Call it 6 just to be safe. So we settled on 6 feet. I've got enough excess hose to make that work. Not super precise. We're just kind of taking a chance at it. So let's go ahead and get this assembled, and then all right, that's good and tight. Now we're going to take one of our barbed T fittings, one of our 11 footers, 12 footers. All right, let's go see how it looks. See, it's coming off the air compressor here to the bumper where it can rest. Going down. We've got our T here where we're going to put another short hose off the top of that. That'll reach the valve stem. It'll obviously go anywhere the valve stem could be. We come down to the end, and we'll have an air chuck right here. A tire clamp valve stem You know what I'm talking about. Oh my god. Anyway, we'll have another end here that I'll attach to this valve stem. Now we just have to repeat the process for the other side. None of the measurements are going to change except for the measurement from this bar all the way down to the first valve stem here. I'll get that done. We'll go from there. That measurement from the barb to the passenger side rear tire ended up being 8 feet. Your mileage may vary, but again, these numbers are all rough, so not anything you should bet on, bank on, or plan on using. Take your measurements for yourself. Get an idea of what you need. These cutters are actually used for PVC, so one end's going to come off our T barb. The other end's going to go into another T. And then the 11-foot hose is going to go on the end of that. I'll show you guys what I changed. I did change one thing. We're coming off our ball valve with our gauge into a 3/8 inch barb, the short jumper tubing into a 3-way barb. One side's going to the driver's side, the other side is going down to the passenger. I did that because I actually need that that T back. I just thought about something I wanted to add halfway through, all the way through. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna add another 3-way to the end of this hose here, and our excess hose that we have left over, since we have a couple feet of it, I am just going to put a ball valve and run that excess hose out. Just put a quick disconnect on it, that way I can run an air tool on this instead of carrying around a bunch of different hoses. I can just use this. We'll see how that works out. If it doesn't, I always have another air hose, but there's no sense in wasting what we have left since we have plenty. That should be, that's quite a lot of hose. I don't want to throw that out and I don't want to waste it, so I'm going to put it to good use and do it with what I've already bought, so that way I'm not coming in over budget. And yeah, so let's get started on that. We need 3 lengths of hose. I think 5 inches should do. 1, 2. So, oh, here's that nipple I took back. 1, number 2, number 3. And then what we'll do is we'll go ahead and prep this one. Alright, so now we're going to take our air chucks. These were pretty expensive, but anyway. That goes on your valve stem to your tire. And you slide this up and it locks, and you can walk away from it. You don't have to hold it. So. All right, let's go get these put on. We are at the passenger side front. And that's the one that's getting the special extension with the quick disconnect on it. So what we're gonna do is take our hose we had here, one of our hose clamps, the three-way hose, barb. And we're going to tighten this guy just a little bit. We're going to make it pretty, make it match. My OCD will kill me if they're not all facing the same direction. Alright, nice and snug. So, now, let's see how good this was. Yep, it works. We're going to leave that there for now. We're going to move on and do the other ones. Got our barb. The last type of connection we have, which is the most basic, which is just the end of the hose, no barb, no special fittings. And our prepped end. Put our ring on. Put that guy in. Like so. And we just tighten down that ring. At this point, our system is fully assembled. We've got it running all the way down to the front. Comes into the Y back here. And we've got it assembled that direction. So we need to hook this guy up and see if we have any leaks. So the orientation of your handle is the orientation of the airflow. So right now it's running parallel with the hose, which means it's allowing air in. If I turn it perpendicular, that means its orientation is right or left. That shuts the airflow off. Our pressure gauge is behind that shut off. So once we flip this lever, the input from the air compressor is not going to affect the reading on this gauge. So we're going to know what our tire pressure is. Now, since we don't have any separate lines, everything is all connected to each other, and it runs up to this kind of makeshift manifold here. What that's going to do is equalize the air pressure in all four tires. So no more 30 psi in one, 32 psi in another, and then trying to trust your gauge whether or not it's accurate when you're reading it. So one gauge reads all four tires running equal pressures. Let me know if that doesn't make sense, but it makes sense when I said it. Anyway, we're going to get these all hooked up and we're going to test them out for air leaks. We come back and we look at our gauge. 28 psi. It's a little low. But let's take a second before we pump them up and talk about airing down. There's 100 different ways to air down your Jeep, right? And you have pull your valve cores if you want to, if you want to go that low, that fast. You got your monster valves. You got the screw-on bleeder valves that you can set to a certain psi. Well, with this system, same concept basically applies. If you can inflate all four tires at the same time, you can disconnect this from your compressor and deflate all four tires at the same time. The advantage to that is, and the reason why I said that I like to use the 3/8 inch hose, is bigger diameter hose moves a higher volume of air, which means you can air down faster. It's that simple. What I'm going to do is air these guys down to what I would normally run them at off-road, which is somewhere between 5 and 8 psi. And then we're going to air them back up with the onboard air compressor, and we're going to time it and see how long it takes us to deflate and then reinflate 4 37-inch BFGs. Stay tuned. All right, so it took us a little over 3 minutes, so 3 minutes and 13 seconds to air down 4 37-inch tires to between 8 and 10 psi. All right, we've got them aired down, so now we're gonna time and see how long it takes us to air all 4 tires back up. So while this thing's inflating, we can check for leaks. We are currently sitting at 10 minutes and 52 seconds. And we made it all the way up to 30 psi, 29 psi, which is what we would normally run on the street. So that is not too shabby. 10 minutes to air up 4 tires and not having to walk around, bend down, and get back up. Yeah, I like it. Well worth the money. So, let me get all this cleaned up. We're gonna get inside and I'll sit down and go over all the parts. I'll go back over how I built it, what I used, what it costs, and I'll put links in the description for all the parts if you guys want to build one yourselves. Let me know what you think. If you've stuck with me this far, I sincerely appreciate it. Please consider hitting that like and subscribe button. It helps me out and it lets me know what you want to see. So if you want to see more DIY content, leave a comment below and give me some ideas on what you want to see us try to build. In this particular episode, we were successful in coming in under budget. The company that I was comparing this build to has their product, the lowest price I could find it for was $170. The budget for this build was $150 and we met it. Barely, but we met it. I think it's $148 and change. So as you can see, we do have a lot of stuff left over. The remaining quick disconnect fittings I'm going to use on my air tools and various other things. So it's not going to waste, but it's also not going to be used for this project. Same can be said for the hose clamps. They're going to go in my inventory and I'll use them eventually, so still not a waste. And then of course we had some brass fittings left over. While I was doing my research, it was actually cheaper to buy the packages with multiple different types of fittings than it was to buy the individual fittings themselves, so that's why we went that route. We didn't waste any of the hose. We used every single bit of it. Basically, we just cut it up into little sections and reoriented it for a different purpose. So I'm going to go over each individual piece, starting with the gauge. That was $12. This is a really nice liquid filled gauge, so and it has the added benefit of not running on batteries, so you don't have any batteries to die. That's my issue with the digital gauges. They become useless if the batteries die. Next up was the 1/4-inch brass pipe fittings, the ball valve kit. That was $15. The quick disconnect fittings, the red fittings, were $16. The hose was a 3/8-inch 50-foot with 1/4-inch NPT fittings on it. Was $35, $34.77. Then each of the air chucks were $10 a piece. The hose clamps were $17, and then the kit with the brass fittings that were barbs was $15 as well. So the additional fittings that I purchased at the hardware store, which were 3/8 inch barb to 1/4 inch MPT, that's how we attach the chucks to the hose. They were a few dollars each in a bin, so relatively inexpensive add-on item there. Going back to the vendor manufacturer that I was comparing this build to, their particular kit in the $170 price range does not have an extension on it with a quick disconnect where you can run air tools. So if you wanted to use their kit and you wanted to run air tools off of your compressor, you'd have to take a separate hose. I'm only going to have to carry this, and then if, say I need to run an air ratchet, I can hook this up and use that exact hose for that same hose. All in all, I think it was a success. Let me know what you think, and let me know what you want to see next. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.